is something that is a little near and dear to my heart. So much and so that about 5 years ago, I created a fake holiday on social media called International Flashing Awareness Day, just to really help highlight education and spread awareness of correct flashing details. I was having a great conversation with Mike Girton one time, and he said the only thing you can do worse than no flashing is almost do the flashing right. And if you think about it, if you don't flash a window at all, the first time it rains, the homeowner, whoever's living inside that, they're going to see water spill in on the floor right away. If you get the details 90–95% right, that's that slow leak, that slow leak in the wall that takes, somewhere between 5 and 12 years to show up. And usually by the time you find it, you're not just fixing the flashing, you're fixing the wall, possibly the rim joist, the floor underneath it, and everything else. So I was tired of repairing rot, created this holiday. So if you have a chance, August 26th, share your favorite flashing detail or share a flashing fail to help educate people on what not to do. Because you can learn something from anybody, even if it's what not to do. All right. So a funny thing happens when there's a bunch of people watching, there's cameras, we forget how to talk, the tape doesn't stick on the wall right, or it sticks together and you can't get apart. So we're gonna have a little bit of fun with that. And let's have a few laughs, let's learn a few things. Hopefully I learn as much from you as you learn from me. And somewhere along the way, we might even give a few things away. So, how many of you people tape flash your windows? So this window is kind of almost done. The next step would be to go up both sides and tape both sides of the window. Now when you're doing this, do you just run it down the side? What do you do? Exactly. We want to try and wrap it onto the actual frame of the window itself. The weak spot is where the nail flange connects to the frame. If you drop it on the ground or you put it in cold weather, you can crack that, you can shear that. So if we can, we're going to put that tape remember what I talked about people watching in the camera, right? We're going to try and roll that up on there, just a little tiny bit. One great thing about a lot of these acrylic adhesives is you can reposition them. So if you make a mistake, take a second, clean it up. You don't want to have it so far onto the window that whatever siding you've got is going to show. So you try and keep it, that 3/16 1/4 inch. That's all you really need. Little trick that I like to do is I'll run down that joint right there. Make sure that I've got it rolled up. If I start to get off track, peel it back, bring it in, make sure I get it on the jam. Once you've got that part adhered properly to the frame, then you can take your time, spread it out, try and make it look neat. Now, normally I would do the other side as well, but we're only here for an hour, and if I stick the tape to myself enough times, we're gonna run out of time. What do you think we do across the top when we tape flash that? Do we do the same thing? Absolutely. You could even go more, because chances are nobody's going to look at that anyways. Now, I like to bring my tape always out past whatever type of head tape is already there. That's just a preference. I'm not saying you actually have to do that. That is just my personal preference. Again, you want to make sure that is fully rolled onto the frame. If you have a little piece of tape here, don't be afraid. Grab your knife, give it a little slice. Now it says roll the tape, and if the roller was right here, I would roll it, but any pressure sensitive adhesive So any of these acrylic tapes, whether it's a zip tape or it is a Sega tape, any of them, you need to apply pressure. So as long as you essentially wet that tape so that adhesive layer gets down and it gets into those micro surfaces, it's going to start to create that bond. That's what you want. So if we had both sides done and I had the top done, are we done? Is that good enough? It depends. Where I live, it's code that I have to have head flashing with NDAMs. Anybody know what an NDAM is? That's right. It's been around for a very long time. So, in my opinion, if you install a lot of windows or you do any amount of remodeling, a brake is a great tool. It's a great thing that you should have either in your shop or in your trailer. And there's only about 15 bends you need to master, and you can pretty much do darn near anything. There's different ways of setting this up, but if nothing else, you're going to be able to bend head flashes. Now, if this wasn't on stage, I would remember the measurement I took 15 minutes ago. So do we want to bend that head flashing super tight? You want it right tight? How much space do you think we want?
8.
Hey? Half inch?
8.
Okay, so anybody got any different answers?
1/8 of an inch?
What? I think we need closer to it. Maybe if you took your 8 and took it away from his half, that would be the minimum. That would be the minimum space. So the rule of thumb is if you can get your pinky finger up in there, you're probably good. That's the rule of thumb. Why do we think we need that? Part of it, it breaks surface tension. Has anybody ever seen water curl back around on a metal surface? Exactly. So 3/8 is the magic number water doesn't want to bridge, okay? 1/8 of an inch, how big is a droplet of water? Right? So, again, if we can do that, you're going to break that surface tension. Now, everybody does this a little differently, but this is the quickest version of an NDAM I have. Now, not everybody likes these because they're hard to side around, but again, it's code for where I live and work. You can clean them up a little bit. There's different things you can do. But what this does is when I install this on top of a window, especially if this is a 2-story building, or maybe you live in some place like I do that's got high winds, high annual rainfall, any water that's hitting that wall above, when it runs down the wall and hits the top of this opening, if the wind is crossing the building in any way, shape, or form, that water that hits this horizontal surface, it's going to run into that NDAM and it has to flow out. It can't curl around. How many people here renovate or remodel? Okay. Have you ever seen rot down the side of a door or a window? A lot of times that's that water that's traveling laterally across an opening, curling down, and it's getting held in tension there some way. This alleviates that. It hits that point, it kicks it down, out and away from the building. All right, this is probably the best thing you could do for an entire building. What's the number one thing we can do for our buildings to keep water out? It has nothing to do with flashings, actually. Anybody want to take a guess? Hey? Didn't hear you. Rain screen reduces the risk? No. So they did a study back in the 90s. If we put a 2-foot overhang on a wall, it reduces water infiltration by 90%. So That's actually the best thing we can do. Let's give great overhangs. If you go over to Europe and you go to places in Germany and Switzerland, they've got these hundreds of year-old buildings that see amazing snowfalls, amazing rains, and they're pristine. Yes, they're well maintained, but they've got these huge overhangs to basically shelter the bones of the building. Okay, now I know some of you are not a fan of end dams, especially when it comes to finishing it, but I would highly, again, if nobody was here, that would never have happened. But again, it's code for where I live, so I'm going to continue to do it. And if you have a chance, bend yourself up a piece, do a little experiment, and try it out. It's actually not that hard. It's just some metal origami. Get yourself a good set of hand seamers, little 90-degree bend, come around, flatten it out. That's it. Oh, I need a bigger pouch for this today. Now, typically, I would just grab my tape wherever I left it, right behind me. Now, this upstand is a little too tall. I should have had some tape behind that to maintain my air seal, but again, these things wouldn't happen. I always want to tape that back to the sheathing. That way, anything coming down the wall is going to get picked up by that, brought in on top of the flashing, and go down and out. Anybody? Go ahead. So there's a couple different ways you can do it, okay? For vinyl siding, this is where most of the complaints come about the end dams. If you happen to hit it right, you can just make a little slit there and drop your J down in. I do not actually recommend that, but I have seen it done. My preference is, depending on the height of your end dam, should have mentioned this, okay, so your end dam height is determined by the 1 in 50 wind-driven air pressure in your area. And it's a very complicated way of saying how fast does the wind blow. Okay, so I need a 1 inch. Maybe where you live, you need a 3/8. Depends. Unfortunately, it depends on the climate you live in. I can't answer that question for you specifically off the top of my head. I would have to do some research. But where I need a 1 inch end dam, I'll put the J at the top of the end dam. Yes, you're going to see that 1 inch piece of metal. The only reason people don't like the look of it is because they've never seen it before. If you put it on all of the openings, quite often most people don't even notice. Pardon me? Yes, absolutely. The question was if you were doing clapboard. So if you're doing some type of wood siding, I still like to leave a space above. I don't want to sit my wood down in any water that might accidentally end up there, or if you see, freezing rain or snow, you don't want your wood to sit in that. So I prefer a 1 inch gap straight across the board, but maybe you want to get away with 3/8 for a little cleaner look. Both works.
Would you still do something similar if you had an integrated J?
Sorry, Stephen, you're going to have to yell.
Would you still do something similar with the end dams if you had an integrated J channel? It's like some windows you get with an integrated J.
Okay, so the question is, would I still do a head flashing with end dams if I had a window with integrated J channel? So basically it's set up to receive siding already. It's got the J built in. The answer for me is yes. Then I just typically I avoid ordering windows with that, but if you're stuck, you may just J channel around. I have done it a couple times where I basically start a little stand of J right there. It's not the prettiest thing in the world. I'm not going to lie to you. It's not. I would rather just J the whole window. Also, do you want a window with the integrated eaves trough? I'm going to come to you because you're going to have to yell. Because there's a lot of background noise here, and I've been doing this for a long time, and my ears ring all the time. But I seal the end dam against the back side of the flashing. It's one piece. I don't have to seal it. That is watertight. Hang on. This is going to take just a second, guys, because I didn't anticipate this question. Oops. Again, this would never happen if there was nobody watching. So this is a very small, tiny version, and I'll do this again after, so it's a little bit more clear. But when I grab that with the benders, I don't make any extra cuts. It's still one piece. And I fold it. So there's no way water's getting through that. So, and stop by after. If we've got a minute, I'll do it up for you, okay? Or even better, I'll let you do your own. How many people learn by doing? All right, there we go. Okay. Any questions on head flashes before I move on? I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to ask you to yell at me. All right, hang on. Speak into the mic.
So before you said that
Closer to the mic.
the flashing was smaller than you typically would make it,
Yeah.
would you keep that below your fitting tape?
Are you talking? The question was if my flashing was, yes, come point, please. Ah, I see what you're saying. So my concern there was not actually this piece of tape. My concern was the gap on this vertical seam. That would be a possible air leak point. And minor, yes, but if you look after the little things, the big things kind of seem to just go away. Hopefully that makes sense. So, this is one of the most egregious things that I see on a semi-regular basis. Everybody familiar with the line set? How many people have seen this particular situation? Okay, we've got 3. Anybody else? 4. Can I have 5? Hey, there we go. Okay. So this is dumb. And a person that is a really good friend of that guy right there once famously said, don't do dumb things, okay? That's dumb. Don't do it. There is no excuse for it. There is a lot of great options out there. And we'll get into the great options. But hey, can you get this at any hardware store? Done, right? Now, I could hit this with some stretch tape. Wouldn't take me very long. I'm not going to do it because I'm going to show you a couple other options. If we got time, I'll come back to it. Quick flash, and there's a couple out there. They make this specifically for line sets. It has got a great rubber seal in there. There is no excuse not to manage for water or air. Our good friends at Sega, they make a grommet. Now I don't have any talc powder, but every single box of this, oh, I pulled too hard. Should have got the powder. Anyways, this one is slightly oversized, but you get the idea. If you've got a 3-inch pipe or an elbow like this, I like the elbow because it gives you the downturn. And that way, if you've got any wind or any water, you've already got your drain built in. And that most quality installers actually prefer, if you're going to sleeve it, it's on a little bit of an angle. That way, if anything does get in there, it automatically drains. And usually they have a condensate line that comes out of there. And guess what happens if you live in a cold climate and your condensate line has to run uphill? Anybody? Anybody want to take a guess? Nobody?
Freeze.
When it comes outdoors, it freezes. And now it doesn't condensate. And when that unit kicks on inside and it's got condensation, where does the water go if it's frozen outside? Back inside. It usually leads to bad things. Okay, moving right along. Wires. How many people have seen it where you just got a wire sticking out of the wall? Absolutely, absolutely. So in-house, locally, our electrician, he can put his wire out wherever he wants. Well, not wherever he wants to, that's a lie. We plan it out very carefully. But the point being is, we don't ask him to try and seal anything. We're going to be in charge of our envelope. We're going to be in charge of our air and water control there. So we look after it ourselves. Again, there's lots of great options out there. I can take zip tape and I can make a little sandwich out of it. And this doesn't have to be done with zip tape. You can do this with any of the other great acrylic adhesives out there. We happen to work with a lot of zip. And of course, this is quick and dirty, ladies and gentlemen, but that will be tight for air and water, and it works very well. There are a lot of other great options out there as well. Typical. Hang on, I lost it. All right. There are Sega grommets. Quick Flash makes a grommet for it as well. Lots of great options out there. This is a relatively new company. I seen a few years ago, 2 years ago, I think they first appeared at IBS. So lots of different grommets. But if you don't have that available to you, how many people can get EPDM or pond liner locally? You can do just about anything in the way of making your own grommet with pond liner and a pair of scissors, or you can get on your computer or on your phone and you can place an order with that company that has trucks that stop at your door and drop stuff off, and you can get yourself a set of leather punches. And again, a bunch of different sizes available. Give yourself a little tiny hole. Depending on the size of the wire, that one's actually a little big for this wire, but I think you get the idea. If you can't get your hands on a leather pouch or a leather punch for some reason, just ball it up. Arts and crafts, okay? Depending on the size. Way back when, before pond liner was readily available, I used to go to the local garage and I'd ask them for any tire tubes that they had left over, and I would save them. Sometimes I would sandwich that between 2 pieces of plywood and I would go down through with the appropriate size hole saw. Sometimes it was for flashing, sometimes it was for basically a grommet for a pipe going through the ceiling, so I wanted to maintain my air barrier overhead. Lots of different ways that you can, if there's a will, there's a way, basically. Okay. So I would maybe tack it in place with a couple of like roofing nails or washer head screws, and then I would tape it. These are great because they come already, but any of the EPDM or the quick flash products, any of that stuff, couple of nails, tape them up. Quite often you'll see them on the wall like this. My preference is actually to install them like that. Anybody want to guess why? Bingo. Bingo. Same with a boot on a roof. If you've seen a metal roof and they've got the boot on their square, please no, just don't. Make a diamond instead of a square. All right. All right. This is where you're going to have to use some of your imagination, if you will. Okay? There's only so far that smoke and mirrors go on stage. You're going to have to, again, imagine this a little bit. So imagine, if you will, this is the worst architectural situation that you could possibly run into ever. You have a roof dying out over top of a window. How many people have personally run into this situation? In a new construction or in a renovation? In the renovation, what did you find? It is almost guaranteed that anytime you have a roof end over top of a opening, it doesn't have to be a window. It could be a mechanical penetration, you name it. You're gonna have a bad day. You're gonna have a serious conversation with your client about how the budget is gonna have to be increased slightly, or they're gonna have to take some stuff off the table. That's just the way it is. There's lots of things we could do to protect the opening, but one of the simplest things we could do is, when we are doing the roof, is we can install a flashing. Imagine that, a flashing. So this is a fancy tool that I picked up along the way that actually is a metal roofing tool. Now that is quick and dirty and fast for your benefit, okay? And if you like your siding guy, like, well, the guy with the flamingo on his head, but that's another story. He's not the siding guy. The siding guy is here somewhere, but he is the bearded Sido.
Sido?
If you like him, you can put a little bit of a round over on it, and you integrate that. If nothing else, anything coming down this wall here, anything being driven into this end wall coming down the roof, you're gonna kick it out. Does that make sense? You can make it out of a scrap piece of aluminum. I don't have any step flashing here today, but if I had a piece, you can make it out of a piece of step flashing.
Is it all right?
Sorry? So you have to be careful about that. I like to put one right on the very end, okay? It is hard to side around. American Flashings is right over there. They have a product called a Jade Out Kick-Out Flashing. That is already set up with a J in it to work with vinyl siding and other sidings that work in that area. I would not say no to you having a secondary one further up if you had a really long, high-pitched roof that you were worried about the volume of water coming down, if you wanted to kind of spread that load out. But typically, this is where I'm worried about it. Because depending on the wind, if I've got it up here, if the wind's bringing stuff down, I'm still gonna... Sorry, I didn't hear you. Half that distance? If you put it here, it's gonna do its job. Up? A little? You don't wanna see that. No, I'm sorry, guys. I'm gonna take that water and I'm gonna put it in the gutter, okay? If you have eaves trough or you have a gutter, let's put the water where it belongs. If you put it up here, there could be some curl go around there. If that is the only complaint your client has about their build, it'll be fine. Okay, we're doing not too terribly on time here, folks. Is there anything, before I go on to something else here, is there anything that anybody else has questions on?
So, similar situation to that, only reverse, I've come across more often, where that roof line is right at the bottom corner of the
Oh, so it's down here. It's
or like
yeah, no, come on up.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. You're in trouble. On a new build, quite often we can do something. We can change the way that window sits. If it doesn't have to line up with other windows, I'll go out of my way to say, hey, can we lift this window? And you try and pick that up at the design stage if you can. If it's a retrofit or a renovation and you are stuck, you're gonna have to do the best you can to waterproof that area, install every opportunity you can to flash that to make sure that even if water does get in, it's gonna have a way out. And a lot of that goes back to, I don't know how many of you caught our window install, but having a slope sill with positive drainage. This is going a little bit backwards, but then we air seal inside, not this one. Hang on. Around the other side. We're getting a little off topic, but we'll use a product like this Ventrum 20, IS20, to air seal inside, because in order for water to get into your building, what do you need? What?
Pressure.
Pressure's one, and a hole, okay? So the way I always explain it is, if you give water an out, it will graciously leave. If you don't give water out, it will invite itself in, okay? So we always want to give water an out. Slope sill, positive drainage, air seal the inside. There's only two types of windows, folks, if you didn't already know. Anybody?
Windows that leak and windows that are going to leak?
Absolutely, he said it. Windows that leak and windows that are gonna leak, okay? It's true, it's true. You're asking that to stand outside 365 in all types of weather. Sooner or later, something's gonna go wrong. Whether it's a storm, a bird strike, UV finally gets at it. How many people have here had a brand new window that leaks? Yeah, it happens, okay? So positive drainage, air seal it inside, we'll give water a way out, and we'll try and limit that pressure differential, or we'll just eliminate it. That answer your question? Okay. Anybody seen this before? This is a self-adhesive, there we go. We're already off to a good start. This is a self-adhesive stainless steel flashing. This comes from York Flashings in Maine. Again, none of you were here, this would never happen. I'm lying, it absolutely would happen if you guys aren't here. Anybody who works with tape on a regular basis totally understands what I'm talking about. So this is a fun product. I won't say it doesn't create a thermal bridge if you use it in outboard to inboard, but it is thin enough that it is not going to transfer a lot of energy. So if you're worried about energy or thermal bridging, I'm not saying it won't, but it's so minimal it's not even going to be funny. But one thing that I like about this, and I don't have this quite set up, so you're going to have to use your imagination. There's supposed to be another piece of wood right here, and when I get to a mirror, I will give that gentleman a good verbal thrashing. Anyways, I shouldn't have even tried to save it. We'll just go with that. The beginning of all these rolls are always a bit of fun, but because it is metal, and again, you can actually fold this. Yeah, this isn't going to work because you guys are watching, but I'll do it this way. We can create a fold. It's much easier if we had something to go off of. Anyways, I am going to just let you guys see another piece here before I try to stick that to something. Just so you actually believe me, because right now I see questions in some people's minds. And we're having the same issue. So I'll just go with a smaller piece. So what I'm able to do with this, whether I go fully outboard or not, is I can do essentially that same bend that I do with a end dam, and I can put that in the corner of a window and I can make a pan. And if I don't want to take it fully outboard, it can create my back dam, and then I can have a different flashing outboard. So you could have something like zip stretch tape that actually goes outboard. This sits on top of the zip stretch tape just to create your back dam. How many people are installing windows right on the floor? Because it's kind of a trend now.
Yes. Hey.
Okay. So if you're installing your window on the floor, can you create that positive drainage?
I pad up.
You can pad it up, but if you're trying to line up the door, the window, and all that other stuff, sometimes it gets difficult. So this is where that product comes in handy, is I could create that very, very, very thin pan. Wait for it. I see a question in your mind. Hang on. Let me go behind the curtain here. So this is not actually designed for windows and doors, but it solves a problem. We in fact now use it underneath all of our doors. So this is designed as a drainage plan for stucco and masonry issues. So essentially what this is it's going to allow me to drain out a space that I don't have positive drainage. Water always goes from more to less. Wet goes to dry. So if I trap this down underneath my door, fold it out into my rain screen, which should always be drier than something where water might be held in tension, it's going to pull any water that happens to get underneath that door for whatever reason. You know, it's 20 years down the road, the sill is let go, the caulking joint where the sill meets the jamb, the homeowner doesn't look after that maintenance item, whatever the case may be. As long as I've got that pan in place, that water can't go inboard, it will pick it up and it will pull it back outside into my rain screen. Make sense? So you don't want it exposed, right? So Do you usually have a piece of trim underneath your door, or hey? Okay. So we like to have
Branding.
a piece of PVC or something replaceable underneath the door. Because what do people do when they're going in the door and they got snow on their boots? They kick the door jamb or they kick the siding underneath the door. So let's give them something that they can kick, but it also makes that door renovatable, right? Because when I pull that door out in 20 or 25 years, whatever the case may be, somebody's going to have access to fix up the flashing at that jamb, fix the pan at the sill of that door. That gives you the opportunity to do this. So whether it's a wooden board, some type of PVC material, whatever the case may be, we try and incorporate it. Doesn't always work out. I understand what you're saying, but if you can, think about the next guy because it might be you. Anybody have any questions?
Question. Because,
You keep sneaking up on me. What the heck?
well, I just want to
What's the question?
thermal break. Does that act as a thermal break?
This? It depends. I know that's not the answer you're looking for. So this particular vent flash actually does have.
They didn't know the question I asked.
Pardon me?
They don't know what I said.
Oh, she was asking. Sorry, we were having our own private moment. Anyways, she was asking if this would act as a thermal break. The answer is no, because there is a slight tiny bit of metal in this product. It is a laminated product. But again, the amount of energy that can be transferred through that very thin layer is minimal. And if that is the worst part of your project, I'm not going to worry about it. There's a lot of other great products out there now. Much as you see with a lot of our wood products, where we're seeing more, engineered lumber. This isn't going to be just straight copper. It's a laminated copper. So we've got essentially a poly backer on there. Lets you still hand form that, but instead of having to go to like a 30-ounce copper, you can get up on top of the roof, bend that by hand or over top of your square, and it's only 7 ounces, or that might be 12 ounce. But anyways, they make that in a 7 and a 12. Anybody have any other questions right now? All right. I do not have a hose bib because it hasn't shown up, and I'm missing a couple things here. All right. I'm missing something. I don't know where it is. I'm not going to go looking for it. But if you guys have any questions, I'm going to be hanging out. If you want to go over an end dam, you want to bend an end dam on your own, by all means, come on up and we'll go from there. All right. Thank you very much. We'll go from there.